Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm back. I'm going to finish reading Ghost Boys. Woo, there we go. And I am picking up in the section We're Still Dead. Jerome is still observing. And the chapter is called Carlos. If you have the book, it's on page 125. Um, I'm going to backtrack. If you don't remember quite what happened, I'm going to refresh you. You can also go watch any of the videos. They're saved. They're on Google Classroom. You can watch them if you want to rewatch any of them. But what we know so far is that Jerome was shot by the police because he had a toy gun. And we've been going back and forth. The chapter we just left off was they were at the preliminary hearing in the Chicago courthouse, April 18th. That was the day. And Sarah's father was on the stand. He's the police officer that shot Jerome. He's on the stand testifying about what happened. And they were saying, did you help him? And he couldn't say that he did. And then Jerome's just feeling like he can't help. It actually says, it leaves off, it says, angry bursts swirl like a hurricane. Sarah buries her face in her mother's lap. I can't help Grandma, Ma, or Pop. Or walk out, disappear. So he's really feeling that he can't help anyone. We know that he was questioning, like, why am I here? Why is Sarah the only one I can see? Why am I seeing these other ghost boys? We find out that one of the other ghost boys is Emmett Till. We just read the chapter before we left about Sarah finding out who Emmett Till was and what happened to him. She went to the library and then she Googled Emmett Till. And so she finds that out. And then they also talk about how similar things have happened around the country. And she compares it to like Rosa Parks, the Voting Rights Act, and things like that. So those are kind of the things that were happening right before we left off. But you're welcome to go back and listen. All right, so I'm going to pick up on the chapter titled Carlos. And remember, Jerome we're still in the section of him being dead. We actually don't go back to alive until the very end. So, all right. So since January, Grandma walks Kim to school. Carlos meets them on the steps and walks Kim inside. After school, Carlos walks them home. For months, they walk. It's a ritual. Carlos is a good big brother. He isn't me, but he's better than no one. Both Grandma and Kim have lost weight. Grandma seems so much older, and Kim barely smiles except when Carlos makes jokes, or gives her pictures, or gifts like a stick of gum, a purple lollipop. Sometimes Carlos does cartwheels and Kim giggles. He tells her about San Antonio. It was always sun, never snow. The sky is wide open and blue. No skyscrapers, not like Chicago. Hands waving, he's skipping backwards, chattering excitedly. He's wearing sneakers. The San Antonio River, it flows lazy, through downtown. The Riverwalk, it's called. Weekends, there's partying, people in small boats, some eating, drinking by the river. All kinds of music, mariachi, jazz, pop. Kim stops. She shifts her backpack. Grandma's head tilts, watching her. Are you going back? Carlos' smile slips. He says solemnly. Nope, could never. Chicago's my home now. Kim smiles, then races ahead, happy. Grandma puts her hand on Carlos' shoulder. You're a good boy, Carlos. Think you can walk Kim home by yourself? I can walk her to school, too. No, I'm not quite ready. Grandma rubs her forehead. I know it's not good for me to hover close, but one step at a time. I'll walk him to school. You can walk her home. You trust me? I do. Carlos bows his head. His toes wriggle inside his sneakers. He's proud. Grandma pats his shoulder. Jerome should have brought you to supper. I didn't know he had a good friend. Do you like cake? Not answering, Carlos calls. Kim, wait up! He runs towards her. I focus on Carlos catching up to Kim. I like him. I really do. The two stop, wait for Grandma. Carlos stands in profile. Sadness cloaks him. It didn't when we first met. Not like this. Not like he's standing on a grave. As Grandma gets closer, he smiles big, bright. Now I know it's false. If I squint my eyes, I can imagine Carlos is me. All right, back to the preliminary hearing in the Chicago courthouse. Now we're on April 18th. So remember there was a recess and we're picking up on day 2. Calling Officer Moore back to the stand, the prosecutor says. I look for Sarah. She's not in the room. Maybe her parents have decided the hearing is too much. They're protecting her like my family tried to protect me. I wish I could tell them it isn't working. Sarah already sees me better than her dad ever did. Strangely, courtroom benches remind me of church pews, long, hard, polished wood. Grandma is having trouble breathing. Whispering, Ma wraps her arm around her. Emmett appears, stands behind Grandma, and amazingly, she lets out a big sigh. Breathes clear, deep. She pats Ma's hand. I'm okay. Officer Moore slips into the witness chair. He's sworn in for a second time. Do you swear to tell the truth? I do, he answers, eyes front, looking over my family's heads. He sits. You thought the victim, a child, was a large man. Objection, not a question, Your Honor. Sustained. You were in fear for your life? Objection, not a question. Repeat testimony. Sustained. The judge leans forward, even though she's trying to hide it. She's irritated. Do you have a question, counselor? Yes, I do, Your Honor. The prosecutor turns, walks away from the judge and officer. He looks at Pop, then, turning back to the stand, says loudly, seriously, why was the child shot in the back? Uproar, panic, stomping, cameras flashing. No photos, asserts the clerk. Reporters are shouting questions. Community activists are demanding justice. Ma, Pop, and Grandma huddle, cling, and cry. Order! Order! The gavel bangs again and again. Officer Moore's wife shuts her eyes. Officer Moore looks pained. I see the skull beneath his face. The video shows me shot in the back. People knew. This is the first time the lawyer has said it, but everyone knew this moment would come. Sarah's parents, the other lawyer, my folks. He was running away. Why did you shoot? Sound dies. There's tense quiet. Like this second is the most important moment in the world. The answer unlocks the universe. I was in fear for my life. Officer Moore's eyes are bleak. You're under oath. I was in fear for my life, he says more forcefully. If I were alive, my whole body would be trembling. Officer Moore speaks, I think, a truth that he actually believes. When truth's a feeling, can it be both? Both true and untrue? In truth, I feared for my life. Chapter Rome. Like Rome. The dirt strip in front of our apartment has wild dandelions. No longer weeds, they've grown puffy yellow tops. I haven't seen Emmett. I'm relieved. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see Sarah either. I'm not sure how to help her. I'm not even sure I want to. People tell the dead, rest in peace. I haven't any. Rest or peace. I roam seeing neighborhoods I've never seen before. Some people live in huge houses with blooming roses, yellow, red, white, planted in their yards, with cats perched on windowsills. Some houses have painted fences that their dogs rush, tails wagging, barking. Animals know I'm still here. I wish I'd had one, a big dog like a black lab or German shepherd. Chicago is more beautiful than I ever thought. I didn't know there were parks with swings, slides, running, and bicycle tracks. I didn't know there were over 100 skyscrapers, or Lincoln Park Zoo with African penguins striped black and white. I wish I could tell Carlos that Chicago has a riverwalk too. Moms push strollers, men and women run in black tights, kite surfers ride the river. Wish I had tried it. Wish I had known the world was so much bigger and better than just my neighborhood. I've stopped shadowing Ma and Pop. It's too painful watching them act like robots. It's like they got shot too. They're not happy like before. Ma and Pop used to laugh, play card games, fuss over me and Kim. Inside the house, it's worse. Pop passes my closed bedroom door. He doesn't check on Kim before he goes to work. In the kitchen, Ma, shoulders hunched, barely eats or speaks. No goodbyes between her and Pop. They don't hug or kiss. They just work and sleep. They try to forget. Grandma and Kim don't mind their grief showing, especially after dinner. They talk about me. They cry. Hurting, they seem real. Alive. I worry Ma and Pop will get used to trying not to feel, so used to it that one day they won't feel anything anymore. That would be worse than me dying. I wander Green Street, drifting behind Grandma and Kim on their way to school, then shadowing Kim and Carlos coming home. Both ways, I pass Green Acres. I keep my eyes forward, not wanting to see where I was killed. Preliminary hearing, Chicago Courthouse, April 19th, so we're back right where we left off at the courthouse. After lunch, everyone files back into the courtroom. Officer Moore sits next to his lawyer. The prosecutor, I guess, he's my lawyer, sits alone. He seems confident and relaxed. Everyone stands when the judge enters. Her face isn't still. Brows twitch, her lips tighten. She breathes deep. Something's wrong. She's got tender eyes, but as she speaks, her voice is robot calm. As a reminder, this hearing is not to determine innocence or guilt, says the judge, looking everywhere, yet nowhere, but rather as if there is enough evidence for the state to file criminal charges against Officer Moore. The circumstances are beyond a doubt tragic. The court truly regrets the death of Jerome Rogers. But everyone sucks in air, holds their breaths. Stillness, silence. Not even a fly buzzes. But justice is tempered by the fact that a police officer's job is incredibly hard and complicated. An emergency 911 call, a young man with a realistic-looking gun, a concern for public safety, and an officer's fear for his life are all facts I have considered. In the opinion of this court, there is not enough evidence to charge Officer Moore with excessive force, manslaughter, or murder. That's where I'm going to stop for today.